Leer. Wildside.
Each National Walleye Tour event is an opportunity for somebody to stand up and adjust to the conditions, jig, rig, pull plugs, whatever they got to do, and make better decisions on the water than the others. We just got back from Lake Sakakawea, and that is no easy place to make that amount of decisions. This place is 178 miles long, up to 14 miles wide, and it is stuffed with forage. These fish are fat. And today's guest, best of the best, weighing over 50 pounds of walleye, 50.91 pounds to be exact, over a 5-pound average. Cody Northrop did just that on Lake Sakakawea, his home water. So we're sitting down with him and picking apart how he dissects this incredible piece of water. But before we get there, please take a second, drop down and subscribe. And we want you to be a part of this and make sure that you get every episode of Chip Leer's Wildside podcast. So click subscribe. And after that, head over to chipleer.com and make sure that you sign up for a newsletter so you're made aware every time new episodes, blogs, or information is available just for you. So right now, let's sit back, let's listen and learn from the Skeeter Pro, Cody Northrop. Welcome aboard and congratulations, Cody Northrop, on your first National Walleye Tour win, and a commanding one it was at that. You win by 4.69 pounds, Lake Sakakawea. Man, what does it feel like? I mean, you bested an incredible field of anglers. It has to have settled in by now.
Oh yeah. Well, first, thanks for having me on, Chip. Yeah, I think it's just now finally starting to set in. It's been crazy, text and calls and Facebook and you name it. It's just been nonstop for the last since I got Friday night.
Well, I mean, after all, you are an overnight success. 30 years of tournament fishing, a number of very some very impressive wins over the years, and suddenly you find yourself on top. And I say that jokingly because it takes a long time to get to know a body of water as well as you did. But you definitely know this one extremely well.
Yeah, I've definitely had success over the years on this one. But
let me get that. What led to this? 2014 and 2018 Four Bears Casino Cup wins, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
And a 2017 AIM State Championship there.
Yeah, we won the AIM regular season event on the Bismarck in Bismarck on the river, actually, and then we ended up qualifying for the national tournament a couple of years through the AIM also.
But here you are in, I believe this is your fourth National Walleye Tour event as a pro.
Third one. Yep.
Third is an actual pro, and you find yourself on top. So that's pretty cool. Pro-ams are different than teams. I mean, you had to recognize that right away.
Oh yeah, definitely. You're you call the shots and you go as you go.
And it's all on your shoulders, but you did it well. And let's just dive right in, because I want to know, run us through the program of what you did and how you caught your fish, because you were using a couple of different tactics to put together these incredible stringers.
Sure. So first, I had two great co-anglers, Miles Bottinger day one, and then Jason Smith day two, and actually, day one, Miles caught the biggest fish that we weighed in that day at 27 inches. So that tremendous help there. But we spent a lot of time breaking down the lake. Talk about that previous knowledge of the lake. I think it helps mostly eliminate water more than anything. We were able to eliminate a big section of lake. Lake Sakakawea is 170 some miles long, depending on what you read, but so we were able to eliminate quite a bit of water just by local knowledge, and focused on pretty much east end, and then that area from Van Hook south to the Little Missouri Arm was really our focus areas. But come tournament time, we did a lot of trolling just to cover water while we were trying to during practice. And with that cold front that had hit us, it was pretty evident that that wasn't going to be ticket. So we started looking more into the live crick chub bite, and then the glide bait bite, and I stayed out of that Van Hook area for most of the week until I think we went up there. Dean and I went up there on Tuesday and Wednesday, I believe, and started practicing up there and found them right away and just kind of stayed out of there. And come tournament day, I went to this, we're fishing a submerged island that's about 5 miles into the Van Hook Arm, going north up into it. So it was about a 60-mile run from takeoff from Garrison. And got up there, and there was probably a dozen other boats around, but really focusing on both myself and my co. We were running one dead stick rod with a creek chub on it, and then also had a jigging rod that we were using with jigging wraps, and that was really the program. It was kind of weird. I thought it was going to be more of a crick chub bite, and I know some of the guys did get more fish on crick chubs. For us, it was, I think 2 of our 10 weigh fish came on crick chubs, and the rest were jigging wraps, which kind of surprised me. I kind of thought it was going to be the other way around, but that worked out that way. Day one, I think we had, I'm trying to think how that went. Fish were really, and like I say, we're fishing a submerged island, and the bait there was a lot of bait around it, and day one it was fairly calm conditions, so the bait was out in that 40 to 45 foot range, and the fish that's where they were. So we caught our keeper fish from 35 to 45 feet on day one, and so we had a 27, a 26, and 25, and then I had an 18 and a 16. And with those calm conditions, day one, the bite kind of died off in the afternoon. We had a 420, I believe it was 420 weigh-in, so we had a longer day, and which allowed me we spent a couple hours on the way back in trying to upgrade those 18s and that 16, and luckily we did. We sniped a 22 and a 20 off a couple submerged islands on the way in with jigging wraps again. So that obviously helped. And then so that was day one. I think we had 22 pounds of some change. And then day two, we had an earlier takeoff, but in a little bit windier conditions, and I was really glad to be in that Skeeter 2200 that day, because when we turned the corner at the Little Missouri Arm and started going north, those waves had a 20-mile run at us by the time we got up there, and it was pretty rough, but anyway, so we got up there, and I knew, based on past history, I thought the fish were going to be shallower, and they were. Started making a drift on the island, and I saw right away that some small bunches of bait were up in 25 feet, and just made our first 10, 20 foot of drift. And I caught a couple small 16s, threw them back, and and these fish are all healthy. They're all football. So had a 18-inch, and I had told myself the night before and the guys that I was going to put weight in the box, because I've had some good first days this year on tournaments, and for whatever reason fell off day two. And I said, I'm not going to do that this time. So I just wanted to put weight in the box. And we had 18 was the first fish. I put him in the box. 23 right away after that. These are all on jigging wraps. And put him in the box. And then right after that, a 20-incher, put him in the box. So that was 3. This is probably 15 minutes into it. And the wind was just right for a drift, so we started drifting down that break line. And that island has a sharp break line. It's probably goes from 20 feet to 45, just real quick, a steep break. And then there's 2 pronounced points on the east and west end. And I got to the west end of the island, and it just, my screen, I actually thought something was wrong with my graph, because it just turned solid red. And and it was all bait. And I was like, oh my, this is going to be good. And so we drifted over it and nothing happened. And I told my co-angler, let's reel up, and started fishing back into it, into the waves, and stayed vertical. And I think it was just lights out from that point. We had, I think the first fish was a 25. I got him in the box, sat down again up front and got a 26, and then another 26. And this, mind you, is probably 5 minutes apart between the three of those. And then, within the next 45 minutes or so, we put another 2 27s in the box.
So, and when you first went up, you were drifting across this hump. Is that what you were getting at? And then you
Yep.
turned the bow into the wind and tried to
Yep.
control it a little bit more.
Yeah, that's correct. We were really just drifting down the brake line. It was a perfect wind, drifting the brake line with the brake line.
Yep.
So that's what we did. And then once I got to that west point and saw that bait, and for whatever reason, the fish wanted a vertical. If you were without, 10 foot circumference or a diameter from being vertical, they wouldn't hit it. So yeah, so I had to really concentrate on keeping that boat vertical and on that point.
Okay. So when you're trying to find these fish on Sakakawea, you had avoided this area, but there's so much of this. I mean, we talked about the smelt a lot all week long. Everybody kept talking about all this bait. So, how do you go about, like, during pre-fish? You're talking about doing some trolling and trying to find these fish. Can you just drive around till you find the smelt before you fish, or do you need to? Are you trying to troll your way through areas that these smelt commonly hang out? And how much do they move? That's really where I'm going with this.
Yeah. So I trust electronics a lot. We spent a lot of time graphing, trying to find the right conditions, trying to find those big pods of smelt or white bass or Cisco or whatever it was at the time. And if, one thing about Sakakawea, if you see the fish, they're there. If you don't see them, they're not there. And that's what I told the team the whole week, is like, don't waste time on dead water. If you're not seeing them on the graph, they're not there. So that was kind of the path going forward. So we looked for that, and a lot of times we saw them, and they were catchable.
But these fish, why is there a way that, how do those smelt move around that system, and why are they on that particular hump? And obviously that day all the stars aligned, and it sounds like you found like the mega school of bait, right? And the bigger the ball of bait, the bigger the school of fish, and it really was on your spot. It was essentially the same spot for 2 days, right?
Yeah, correct. It was.
Yeah, but so what was the scenario that bait ball grew as large as it did?
I think it's just where that specific island is located, as access to deep water right next to it, and it's kind of right out in the middle of the Van Hook Arm, so those fish can come and go. They smelt, though, depending on what way the wind's blowing. They're wind driven a lot, but they can. The Van Hook Arm is basically its own environment and by itself, right?
Right.
So,
right. I think it's like 15 miles wide at that point, isn't it? It's massive. That's the widest part of the entire reservoir. Right.
It is. And that part of the lake itself could, Van Hook Arm itself could probably compete with top 5 fisheries in the country. It's such a great fishery, but there's just massive amounts of bait up there is really what it comes down to. And you have access to shallow water, you have deep submerged islands, you have, it's a big spawning ground for white bass and all the forage fish. Then you got deep water that accesses the river channel, which is right by Shell Village there at the mouth of it.
So will those, does the bait leave that arm and go back to the main channel, or does it stay up there all the time? And I'm assuming they make movements just like the walleyes do, right? They'll be up arms in the spring or on shorelines and then move out to deeper water. Or how does that?
I think that bait in that Van Hook Arm is really resident. I don't think it leaves, to be honest with you. What I've seen over the years. I think that's part of the reason it's such a great fishery up there. It's just an overabundance of bait, and I don't think it ever leaves. I'm sure there's some that does exit in and out, but I don't think they go far. But there's massive schools of small white bass, ciscos, smelt that just reside right there in Van Hook.
So are those fish, are the bait and the walleye, there is a migrational pattern that takes place a little bit here, right? I mean, those fish will move up and down the river system, or, the walleyes.
Yeah. Yeah. So the rest of the lake, in the springtime, most of the smelt and the walleye are up on the west end and, towards the Williston area.
Yep.
And that's really big spawning grounds up there. White Earth area, Tobacco Gardens, Lewis and Clark State Park, that area, from when NWT was here in 2017 and they all made that run up there, that was really what was going on. It was just post-spawning. That massive pot of walleyes was still working its way back down the reservoir. So then throughout the course of the year, that big pot of fish works its way down to the east end where the smelt moves also into the colder water, deeper colder water towards the Garrison Dam itself there. So, and then, fall, they start making their way back up through the winter to do it all over again.
So you found your fish obviously on this one particular hump, but if they're moving up and down the system, those fish can be found really anywhere. Do you tend to find pockets of larger, fatter fish? I mean, are there areas that there's more bait? That was one thing, the big question I had coming into this event is, are they going to find bigger fish out to the west? Are they going to find bigger fish down towards the dam? Is there a pod of them? Because, I mean, you know the deal. I mean, we go to Great Lakes and we'll find a school of fish that's that much larger than the rest somewhere on that system.
Yeah, typically you can find those, and for whatever reason this year it's been a struggle to find those bigger fish consistently like that. There's only been a couple parts of the lake that I'm aware of that have held them, and Van Hook and Shell Village, where there was a lot of boats fishing that area, are the two of them. We spent a lot of time on the east end thinking that those larger fish got to be in that smelt, and there's a lot of smelt out that way. I mean, that the main smelt body is out east, and just with the colder water. But I think guys were targeting them down in that deeper water, and it's hard. I wouldn't trust it in a tournament. It's so hard to pattern that because, like you said, they're so nomadic. They're here today, gone tomorrow, right? So that was kind of one of the strategies we had going into it was, trying not to target those nomadic fish like that and find something that would be consistent and hold fish.
So you were trolling to find them, but when it came to go time, you're pulling chubs and jigging glide baits. Why the difference? Why do you change it up?
Well, I think, two presentations. It was post cold front. We had those.
Sure.
Well, we went having 60-mile-an-hour winds to a frost. Patterns finally started to straighten out about Tuesday, and I think those fish were finally starting to come out of that. And number one, it seems like there's so much smelt in the lake, and those fish are fat, and you have to put a bigger presentation in front of them in order to get them to bite, which 4 to 6 inch crick chub is pretty tight. And then also whether just to get a reaction bite out of them, which the jig wraps or the ripping wraps or any of the glide baits come into play then.
So it was really came down to just not going past the fish too fast, right? Trying to find something in their zone and tickle them up a little bit, so to speak.
Yeah, I think you had to put it in front of them and make them bite it. What's with that cold front and those fish being a little bit lethargic, trolling just wasn't working for us.
Were like these chub rigs? Are you dead sticking those?
Yeah, I do. I had one dead stick offside the boat. I use of course, I use Denali bait caster rods with I think I have a quantum flip and switch reel, and I just use a 2-ounce bottom bouncer. It's a simple setup, probably a 4-foot lead of I don't remember what I had on there, to be honest with you, but about a 4-foot lead, and then I started using a circle hook because Gamakatsu circle hooks, and just to let those, because we were staying so vertical, And with that 2-ounce bottom bouncer, I could go straight down and get right below the boat. And then number one, it stayed out of the way of your jigging wrap. You weren't getting tangled up with each other. And then number two, we were so vertical that the ones that did hit the jigging wraps, they hooked themselves with that circle, because you were so vertical, you didn't even know they were on there sometimes. But
So are those, are you putting any, you're running just a straight mounted filament? Is it a fluorocarbon leader? And then
yeah.
the circle hook, I mean, you putting any beads, any color, any flash on there at all? It's just straight up natural.
We have in the past, and it seems that some days it works, so it doesn't with the color, with a bead or a propeller or something. But this term, I just ran a straight. I was using Sunline fluorocarbon, that shooter, I think about a 16-pound, and just a straight circle hook by itself. And the ones that did eat it, it was gone. It was so far down that you couldn't even see the hook. So
looks so good, a game warden would eat it.
Exactly.
So for the jigging wraps, the system that you had there, I mean, what size jigging wrap, and then how do you had made comment, talk a little bit about, you were drifting across, but then you turned the nose around and went a little bit more vertical. I mean, I guess that had everything to do with this jigging stroke. So tell me what you were doing to entice those bites.
Yeah, so I noticed Wednesday in practice that, we, past history, we do cast jigging wraps a lot and jig them back to the boat and have success doing that. But I noticed Wednesday in practice that they did not want that. If you had to be vertical and jigging it vertically before they would hit. So Thursday it worked out that way. There were some guys on that were fishing by us that I seen were casting, and they weren't having the same luck that we were. But we tried to work it slow, and it was calm enough to where you could slowly work your way around that island on Thursday. But yeah, number 9 jigging wraps, and I just use I have Denali lithium rods that I use, and then I think they're 7-footers, and then I also use a Shields walleye series, like a 6.6, like a shorter one sometimes, because after 7 hours of doing this, you're with a 7-foot rod, my elbows get sore, so I shorten the rod up a little bit. And then I've been trying out these Piscifun Carbon X 2000 reels. I tell you what, I'm really liking those. They're light, they're sturdy, they have great drag. And then what really helped with those in this was when those big fish hit that jigging wrap, they hit it so aggressive that you would have to take 3 to 4 reels in that high gear ratio that these reels have to catch up to that fish so you could get the hook set. It was unbelievable how hard they hit that thing, and they must have just been rocking in from somewhere and just coming up to hit it.
Are you swapping hooks out, or are you using the hooks that come with the wrap?
Yeah, I do for tournaments. I swap them out to a Mustad triple grip size 4. Seems to hold up. We didn't lose any fish. I hear a lot of guys saying they had fish come on button, whether it was, like you said, the moon and the stars aligning, that didn't happen. But, I do notice that when you upgrade those hooks, you have better hookups.
So when you're jigging this or retrieving this, are you going all the way down to the bottom in between strokes? Are you trying to keep this thing dancing at a particular depth? Are you utilizing your electronics? I mean, are you watching it on your screen, or how do you know where to be? Because kind of what you told me before, if I pick this up right, is that if you don't mark them, you don't fish it. So to me, as a fisherman, what that's telling me is that you're not, if the fish belly to the bottom, and you're really not seeing them, you're not going to mess with them anyway, because they're probably not very aggressive, and there's enough fish in the system to keep moving. So So how far up off the bottom are you putting these jigging wraps?
Well, for this tournament, we were, I would say, a couple foot. I wasn't doing anything really aggressive. Some days you have to. Fish tell you what they want. So in this particular tournament, we were 2 foot, 2.5 foot vertical strokes, snapping a little bit, and nothing, I wasn't ripping the rod out or something like that, or ripping the tip off the rod by jerking it so hard, but just fairly aggressive strokes straight up and down, probably 1.5 foot or 2 foot, 2.5 feet.
You
And
let
then,
you let it free fall then? I mean, you're snapping
yep,
it up a couple feet and just letting it swim back on its own, just like it's designed to do.
correct. And then, if you watch Kavaya's videos when he's shivering, it's kind of the same thing. You give it a stroke up and then try to let it free fall with the line up so you can remain in contact with that line so you can feel that strike. But in this case, that day, it didn't matter. They hit it so hard, you knew that regardless. But um,
Well, and see, to me, that's part of the enticing part here of what you did. Okay, anytime we're in a system that's just like overrun with bait, it seems like, wow, it's hard to catch them because the fish are so full they don't want to eat. And here, whatever you're doing is tripping the trigger. I don't care how big a meal you ate. You walk by with a chocolate sundae, somebody wants a bite. And these things are
right,
fun.
right, yeah. And part of it, I think color mattered. A lot of times it doesn't with these glide baits. It's just more of a
Okay.
reaction. But I noticed, I had some custom lures, and the day before the tournament, I had set up. I have the AFCO foam bait holder, lure holders that I stick to the
Yeah.
side of my scooter boat, and I had, I think, 9 different colors in the front, and I had 9 different colors in the back, and told my co-anglers, rifle through them till you find one that works, and we did, and we had 2 custom colors that Alex and Christine Gorski, they have Team Ultimatum customs they make for me, and it was, I think one of them was a Frogger color, and the other one was kind of I think they call it blueberry muffin, but the key was they each had a lime green to them, and
Okay.
the only ones that were caught fish, I couldn't catch them on normal Rapala colors.
You got any there? You want to share them?
Yeah, I do. So here's
Yeah,
what.
yeah.
Here's
I
what
want to see them
I
all.
warned Alex already, so I told him to order some.
You got to turn it sideways and then hold it up. You probably got to hold it fairly still so we can get a good look at it there.
See that one? So this is the one I use.
Come back away from it a little bit. Right there.
Okay.
That's perfect. Oh, that's beautiful.
So this is one that I used to put the last 27 in the boy. You can see we broke the front hook off getting it unhooked. But that one by far put the most fish in the boat.
Okay, nice.
Call it Frogger, I believe, and then this one is the other one that we had pretty good success with, the blueberry muffin, and you can see it's on the bottom. It has the lime green color also. So
Sure.
for whatever reason, those are the 2 they wanted that day.
So, I mean, you spent 30 years on this body of water, or more for that matter. But is lime green consistent there? Are there specific colors that are unique to Sakakawea?
Mostly it's the normal chartreuses, oranges, purples, lime green. This first time I've used lime green and had success with it. It was
Okay.
I don't know why they wanted that specific color.
What the heck are you doing being so open-minded on your own home body of water? You're not supposed to be. You're pre-decided where, when, and how the fish are going to bite. That's why it's such a curse to fish at home.
Right. No, I don't mind helping people learn a few things, catch more fish.
Oh, no doubt about that. So it just random sideways question. Over the years, I mean, you guys weren't casting glide baits 20 years ago out here, were you?
No.
How much, tell me about the presentation changes through the years and why you think that is.
Yeah, so, when I first started fishing, it was jig and minnow, jig and crawler, and Lindy rigs, and that's all that people used, back then, and had success at it. Minnows and crawlers, leeches, the standards. And then I actually started, there was a guy by the name of Greg Shonick. He used to be a guy, and he had a TV program too. You might remember him. I think he did some PWT stuff, but he had a lot of success pulling cranks back years ago. And I actually went with him a couple times, learned how to pull cranks, and started doing that, I don't know, 20 years ago probably. And there wasn't a lot of people pulling cranks in Sakakawea at the time, at least on the on the west end of the lake, and had some success doing that once we figured it out. And then, and then pretty soon everybody's pulling cranks, and then now the glide baits came out and the ripping wraps, and here in the last couple of years, all of a sudden the crick chub surfaces, and they're getting to be hard to find. They're a hot commodity anymore because I don't know how many tournaments this year have been won with crick chubs on Sakakawea. So.
Well, it sounds like definitely took a combination of the two for you, but the involvement. So you fished as a pro and a co on a number of other bodies of water and through the NWT, right? But the majority of your career is here. So what other bodies of water did you fish? And where I guess to that, and with that, were you doing any of the glide bait jig and wrap thing at these other bodies of water, and did that help this last couple of days?
I think so. Devil's Lake fished out there quite a bit in the last 5 years between AIM and NWT and
Yeah.
other casino cups type tournaments. And obviously we all know that, jig and wrap probably came famous out on Devil's Lake, but that definitely helps because, that bite's always there. And then trying to think of what else. Oahe, we fished down there quite a bit, so that's more of a trolling bite, but jigging wraps and ripping wraps definitely have a place on that body of water also.
How much are you seeing, like the one evolution that I'm really seeing take place this year? I mean, casting has become one of those things. We're at multiple presentations, I think is really what I'm trying to say here. Multiple presentations are becoming more of the mainstay versus this is how I caught my fish to win the tournament. Everybody's using more than one thing. They're mixing it up, presentations by where they're at. And how much are you seeing in more of a hunt and peck mentality, marking using electronics to almost darn near find a target and going after that one particular fish? I'm hypothesizing a little bit, but not completely.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, today's electronics, it just you become so much more efficient. You're, like we said at the start, you're not fishing dead water. You're looking for specific fish, and day one we did that. Two of our wave fish towards the end we upgraded by, we call it sniping, but we marked them and cast it back to them with the jig wrap and caught them. So,
well, upgrading is not allowed in North Dakota. Where you're getting at there is that we had a 5 fish limit. You're allowed 8 in your live well, right? So the upgrade
yep.
means you could move a fish that was in your top 5 to number 6, 7, or
Correct.
8 inside.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're correct. That's correct. We had 5 fish in the box and had 3 more to play with, and on the way back, and ended up catching 2. So.
Yep. No, that's a good plan. That works that way. But what you end up with the biggest bag of the tournament on day number 2, right? You're like, and you come in, you weigh in, I'm there, I'm all excited for you. I mean, you're over 50 pounds, right? We know that the average to win on this body of water based on recent larger tournaments is a little, it's 48 and a half, I think it's 48.75 is the actual number. That's it. And here you are, 50.91. Yes, we've got more anglers, a lot of anglers to weigh yet, but you're well above the average. What's going through your mind at that moment? Because I'm trying to get you to give me some emotion, right?
Yeah, you were.
You're like, no, I refuse to accept the fact I may end up out of here a winner. I won't go there.
I was so nervous. That was a long 3 hours, longest 3 hours of my life. But, I really thought that with that cold front and as lethargic as the fish had been, that they were, with that wind on Friday, I thought that lake was just going to fire up. And, I've seen it many times where guys will bring in 35-pound bags off of Sakakawea, and I fully expected that to happen. And I wasn't going to let myself believe that I had enough until it was over, right? Because I've seen what that lake can produce.
Well, and then the thing about it, you're sitting there. Did you stay in earshot? Like, did you go watch online in your car or wherever and just kind of, is this thing evolved? I'm guessing, listening to every weight that comes in.
Yeah. I just stayed.
We had 13 bags over 20 pounds on day 1, which I thought was a really good day in Sakakawea. That was awesome, I thought. Except day 2, we end up with 24 bags over 20 pounds. I mean, that huge difference in catch. We had 53 5 fish limits on day 1. We had 57 5 fish limits on day 2. So there's more fish being caught, more bigger fish are being caught. And what but still incredibly topsy-turvy. And everybody is getting close to your weight, but they can't quite nip you.
Yeah, it really surprised me. I didn't think I had enough. I had 28 pounds. I honestly thought on the way in that keeping those 3 smaller fish at the start was going to end up hurting me, because there was more big fish there. I probably could have put at least one more 27 in the box. And all the way in, I'm telling myself, geez, I probably screwed up by doing that and going to lose out here by a half a pound or something like that,
Oh, you win by 4.69.
Yeah,
You win by a whole fish, dude.
Totally surprised.
Oh, you win by a whole fish. Absolutely awesome. 82,598 is between boat, motor, trailer, and all the goodies that go along with it. Angler advantage money and whatever. Slide back there. I want to see this trophy here. You got it. You got a whole bunch of plaques behind you there. You got a nice room going. Give us a good look at the trophy. Oh, he's got another. What's the other NWT? Another NWT plaque up there.
Yeah, so in 17, I fished as a co-angler and ended up in 4th place. So.
Very good. Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Was that your first NWT?
It was, and kind of you talk about what, one of those things. I always believe that, the good Lord puts the right people in front of you at the right time, and it's up to you to do it use that opportunity. And in that specific tournament, my AIM tournament partner, Christopher Johnson, asked me, he said, hey, why don't you, he fished as a pro, and said, jump in with me as a co. So I did. And I drew Tom Keenan day 1.
Oh my.
And, yeah. So we made the run, everybody's making that 100-mile run, and we made the run up there, and I was sitting in I think I was in 12th place. I don't recall, but after day 1, and then I drew John Gilman day 2. And John had struggled a little bit on day 1. He didn't make that run. And I'll never forget this. We were sitting in the boat that morning getting to know each other, and and actually Dean and Josh were there too, and they're all my teammates, but they're kind of all joking and stuff. And John looks at me and he says, what do you want to do? He says, it's your day. He goes, I'm out of it, but if you have a shot. And I was, here's me. I'm like, I don't know what to say. It's your boat, whatever. And he said, we're going. And, he didn't have to do that, but he wanted to do it for me. So we made that run up there, and we ended up catching over 20 pounds that day. And I ended up in 4th place. And, and I'll never forget that. He didn't have to do that for me. And we become very good friends since. And he's helped me out a lot.
Well, those are 2 real pros right there. I mean,
definitely.
Both John Gilman and Tom Keenan is an all-time money winner in walleye fishing. I mean, he's an incredible angler. So, wow, that's quite the introduction. But that kind of lit it under your in the belly for you, I'm guessing.
It did, yeah. And that's when I thought, what, and then time was right. I was done. Most of my kids were growing up at that point, and life was able to pursue it. So let's go. Let's do it.
Well, speaking of kids, you've got a few, and now I understand you're engaged to more.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do. I have a beautiful fiance, Kim Overgevich. I have 5 kids. I have 2 sons and 3 daughters, and she has the same. She has 2 sons, 3 daughters. This is our 2 youngest. My daughter Danica here, close with the glasses, and her daughter Harley behind it. So yeah, we have in 4 years we've been together. I think we've only managed to have them all together twice, I think, in the same house.
Well, with that, I'm guessing you probably got a really good idea of what tournament director Anthony Wright's job's all about.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
But you're doing a ton of fishing and trapping, right? You're really into the trapping. And I heard a rumor one time that you fund your fishing through trapping. Is that true?
I do. Yeah, I do. At least it helps. I can't sit still in the wintertime.
Fishing is funding fishing at the moment after 80 grand. I'm just gonna are these all yours?
Yeah, this was last year at a first sale. My partner and I, Rick Freilich from Belfield, these are our coyotes on that table that we took to sale in Bismarck.
How many coyotes are in that photo?
I think we had over 200 between the 2 of us at that one. But.
Wow.
So yeah, it keeps me busy, but I can't, sit still. It gets me back out in the Badlands. I actually grew up in the Badlands, and
Sure.
before I started fishing, that's,
Check this out.
that was the first bobcat I ever caught by trap.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a gorgeous tom bobcat.
Very nice. Very nice. So you're doing coyotes, bobcats. What else? What all are you targeting?
That's about it for the most part.
Yeah.
Coyotes have been so high the last number of years, and it also where we trap out in the Badlands, it helps the ranchers out, right? Keeps
Yeah,
spot
absolutely.
down and helps them with calving and stuff like that. And then not only that, but it helps the animal itself from spreading disease and things like that. So
Obviously you make some money on it. I mean, is it profitable? Is it more of a labor of love?
no, it a little of both. The last few years it's been profitable. I don't know what this year's going to bring, but just throwing numbers out there. Last year we averaged probably $100 a coyote for North Dakota. And Western North Dakota coyotes are highly sought after. They have very good quality for, along with Eastern Montana, and so we do get very good pricing for them.
Nice. That's pretty cool. Congratulations with that. That's a fun story, man. And you got a real job. You're in the oil business, right?
Yeah, I actually work for One Oak. We're a natural gas processing company. I manage a field operating segment of the business. So, that keeps us busy too. And I got a great bunch of people that surround me. They allow me to go do this, and they cover for me when I'm off. And I think they actually enjoy when I'm gone, because then they can actually get more done, type of stuff. And I'm not there looking over their shoulder, but great group of people I work with.
And you've been doing that a long time.
Yeah, I think I've been in oil field for almost 30 years now. I think I'm at 28 this year, and working for this company for 18 years now. So
nice. Very nice. No, it sounds like a great life you're leading, and now you're heading off into this fishing career. Where's this all going for Cody? I mean, are we looking to, we're going to go full time on the pro side? What are we thinking about doing, and what would that look like for you next year, maybe?
I don't know, about full time, but we were going to do the full circuit this year, and then with the COVID stuff, the rescheduling, just kind of vacation time thing, so we ended up only being able to do 2 of them this year. But I think next year we will be, running the whole circuit again. So doing all the events, and then I really enjoy doing the AIM events here. I just like that format very much, and I don't know, we'll see what happens after that, but it's kind of interesting, for people that are, North Dakota has so many good anglers. There's so much competition here. So, we've got, in all actuality, you wouldn't have to leave the state if you wanted to. There's so many big money tournaments in the state right now. And so we'll see how that goes. But, you've got the 5 AIM events, scattered between the big 3, Sakakawea, Devils, and Oahe. And you've got the Casino Cup circuit that started up again. There's 5 events there on the same bodies of water. That's 10 events. You've got Governor's Cup. You've got Dakota Walleye Classic. You got Van Hook Classic up out of, there's a couple of, actually Chris Walker fishes that tour here. He runs an early season tournament out of Williston area, or Newtown. Jeff Clark is a good friend of mine. Between him and the Williston CVB, they run a couple early and late season ones. He runs an early season tournament out of Williston, and then they have this one coming up in October, which is they call it the Big Ten. It's out of Lewis and Clark. That's $30,000 to win that. And there is, I talked to him yesterday, there's still 25 openings. So if anybody's interested in coming out and fishing that, but all these tournaments are anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000 to win them, and so there's, if you don't want to travel, you don't have to. There's plenty of opportunity right here in the state.
So but looking towards the NWT next year, national level, it's a little different ball game. We got we got television, all these things that go with the NWT. What's the perfect circuit for you? Is it 3 events, 4 events, 5 events, 6 events? I mean, because you're still, whether you're fishing locally or going on the road, you've got to manage your own time. That could be
and
does that work?
definitely. And with with the vacation time that I have, that the current format works great for me because you're spending at least a week. You're putting a lot of time into these NWT events, and a lot of guys are able to even put more than a week in, and it works out for us best to do a week at a crack, and really falls in line with the available vacation time we have. So I like the format they have right now.
The 4 means talking about living with the four events, 3 events in a championship.
Yep, correct. Yep.
So we are not going to see you on Lake Erie. Is that correct, or we will?
I don't know. I don't think so. I once again up against the vacation time thing here, and I really wasn't planning on going out there to start with. So I would really like to now, but I don't know that I can make it work. So
did you because you qualified, right?
I don't think so.
No, because you missed the first. You weren't at the first.
I did the 2. So
got it. That's darn it.
Yeah, I just did a combo and Scott.
It'll be an interesting event because I think that because of COVID, we had a higher number of anglers fishing one-offs, right? We had, like even this event here, we had 38, I think, pros that were, North Dakota, Montana, basically. So a lot of one-offs in terms of that. So I think our field at the championship might be one of a smaller field at the championship, but we're still giving away the same amount of money. Plus, we're giving away 3 boats. I mean, we're leaving there. Your odds of winning a boat are pretty good.
Odds are a lot better for the guys this year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's going to be and it's also going to make the Angler of the Year race really interesting too. So, but anyway, with that, congratulations again on the win. Why don't you slide back there? I want to hold that trophy up here close to the camera so we can get a look at that. Can you pick it up and bring it over? 18 pounds worth. There you go. Yep. That's the goal. That's got to feel good.
It feels great. I'm not going to lie.
Awesome. Well, you know what, Cody? Congratulations. And I know we will see you down the road on another National Walleye Tour event or somewhere else along the road. Kudos to you and a great win. Thank you for your time today, and we'll be in touch.
Okay. Appreciate everything, Chip.
That's a wrap with Cody Northrop. But I don't think that's the last time we're going to hear from this Skeeter pro because he definitely knows how to put together the details and get the biggest fish in a system to bite. And you can tell underneath all that, there's a real competitive nature in this man. He wants to play on this stage all across the walleye country. You know what? Our next stop is the championship. Our qualifying events are over, so make sure you drop down and subscribe so you're made aware for our preview shows, and you can keep in touch with everything that's happened at the National Walleye Tour coming up shortly. Thanks for joining us on Chip Leer's Wildside, and we look forward to seeing you do your best.